It's in me, it ain't on me. The grind and keep it coming. Serving early in the morning. Trying to make it home this money, yeah. For the love of this money. For the love of this money. It's in me, it ain't on me. The grind and keep it coming. Serving early in the morning. Trying to make it home this money, yeah. For the love of this money. For the love of this money.
All right, everyone. Thank you guys for joining us for another episode of Prime Wealth. I have a very special guest here today, Miss Tia Moore. Without further ado, we can just go ahead and get into it. Tia, thank you so much for joining us today. I know your time is very valuable, so I appreciate you being here with us.
Thank you. I appreciate your time too.
Yeah, no worries at all. So let's go ahead and get right into it. Tia, you mind just telling us a little bit about your background, your upbringing, things like that?
Sure. So as far as background, I'll go, way back for you. I was born and raised in Raleigh, North Carolina. Went to high school in little rural town, Garner and Clayton area. Shortly after that, I then went on to undergrad at Campbell University here in North Carolina, where I studied trust and wealth management. I graduated in 2019 with my bachelor's of trust and wealth management, minor in financial planning, and master's of trust and wealth. From there, 2 days after graduation, I was signing a lease in Las Vegas, Nevada, where I took my first job for Wells Fargo Wealth Management. And I was there for just under 3 years. Currently moved back to North Carolina working for Truist, which is the combined corporation of BB&T and SunTrust. In my previous role, I was what we call back office, where I was doing the processing. And in my current role, I'm more client facing, but I am a support specialist for what we call a trust advisor.
Okay, awesome. Wow, very accomplished at a young age. That's awesome to see, especially in our community for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. Can you tell us a little bit about like your business ventures outside of like your main work that you are into right now?
Yeah. So for years, I've kind of been stewing on this idea of bringing financial literacy, wealth building to more people. Like I said, with my undergrad degree being in trust and wealth management, I was exposed to a lot of great information, but I understand, the nature of the business. It's not always accessible to everyone. So since I was an undergrad, I've been trying to find a way to, I guess, bridge the gap between what I was learning and what's applicable to more people. So right now, actually, I'm in the process of studying for the Series 7 and 66, which are securities licensing, and I'm going to soon be transitioning into a financial planner role where I will be dropping the assets under management minimums that I'm currently under. That'll give me the opportunity to do financial planning with more people. Also, I would love to also get into more, classes and speaking to the community, helping young people understand personal finance and why it's important. So that's something that I'm really working in right now, it's a lot of things, a lot of moving parts, but I'm working on getting into a solidified business or presentation.
Okay, that's awesome. And then you seem very bright, very intelligent. I'm sure you'll, get into that area and you'll do, some great things for sure, Tia. And I would definitely love to check back with you at a later time and just see how those things are going for you. For sure.
Absolutely, yeah.
So Tia, tell me, like going into high school or just about to graduate high school, what would you say you knew about money?
Not much, which is why I say, my previous comment, why I think it's important for us to get started younger, or rather help our young people get started earlier, understanding why it's important. I would say I had one parent that was very much into business, not necessarily in the way that I am now. But I was always hearing about, business and how this person was trying to start business and whatnot. I didn't understand the details of it, but that was actually what caused me to decide to go into the business school once I got into undergrad. But from the other parents' perspective, it was a lot of, budget and saving money. That was really it. So I'm grateful for that. It wasn't a lot to get started with, but it was enough for me to get started, understanding money, why it's important to be intentional.
Gotcha. Okay. So would you say the roles of your parents had an influence on why you chose the finance field, or just the lack of education that our people usually get?
It was a combination of things. So it was that, constantly hearing about, budget, save your money, budget, save your money. It was a little bit of the constantly hearing the word business and starting business, all of that. It was also once I got to that point of getting ready to, really get into school, taking it seriously, applications and all of that. I knew that it was necessary to go into something that had a high likelihood of um, paying me afterwards. I understood, the issues that we're currently talking about more with college, with, a lot of degrees, questioning whether or not they are, worth the expense. That conversation was just starting to get revved up when I was going in. So I understood that I really needed to um, be able to take care of myself once I graduated. I also understood, not necessarily wanting to be in something that I hated, but I understood that what I wanted to do might not be what's available to me. So I found I guess, an acceptable middle ground between what would pay me and what I like to do. So when I got to the business school, or I started, orientation and whatnot, I was interested in financial planning, not really knowing a whole lot about it, but it, was interesting. And then once I heard that my program had a minor in financial planning, and that year, I think 50 out of 52 graduates were placed. So I just kind of, I thought it was close enough to get started, to be honest.
Got you. Okay, awesome. So what are some mistakes you would say you've made with money um, that played a pivotal role in getting you to like where you are today?
The first thing that comes to mind is taking advice from too many places. Um, More specifically, I would say not properly vetting the people that I was taking advice from. Um, while I was an undergrad, I think, now there's a lot of, conversation around, online businesses and courses and all that. And I think it's amazing. But when that was just getting started, I was transitioning out of high school into undergrad, kind of getting through the bulk of undergrad. And I feel like I was open to too much, um, looking for a way, trying to find my way. And I had not yet just come to understand that the advice is one part of it, but the person that you're taking the advice from also matters.
Right, it's definitely a huge part of.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. So once you really started, to make money, how did you start to balance like risk versus reward when it came to making like financial decisions?
Um, I would say I am a planner. Um, just by nature, I'm a planner. So when I am doing something, if it's, a big decision, if it's more than, buying a meal, then I'm taking the time to think, okay, what's the consequences now? What are the consequences in the future? Um, what are my goals? Is this going to be something that gets in the way of my goals in the near future, next 6 to 12 months? Is it not? I take all those things into consideration.
Mm.
Um, and then I also, one thing that I've come to learn too, with that, there is a time and a place for, a high level of um, discipline. There's also a time and a place to understand balance.
Right.
So all of those things, I think, play a role for
Yeah,
me.
definitely. And feeding off of that question, so how do you balance the personal and the professional life, like while building up your network?
Right now, honestly, there's not much balance in the sense that I think that there's a time and a place for extended periods of focus.
Mm.
And I feel like that's where I am right now. So I do think that balance is extremely important, but I do think that there are times when the priority is building. I think that it's important to know yourself and understand, what approaching burnout feels like for you. Um, I don't
Definitely.
think there's anything wrong with pushing yourself, but like I said, you have to know yourself, and just know the season that you're in. And for me right now, to be honest, I'm in that season of building. Balance for me kind of looks like resting when I need to rest. It's not a lot of fun time. It's not a lot of vacations. It's not that kind of stuff. But it's, when it's time for me to rest, I turn everything off and I go rest.
Yeah.
That's balance for me right this second, to be honest.
Gotcha. Yeah. And that self-awareness is huge. It can be, the difference between you, getting a huge promotion or, making a pivotal mistake that can, damage your career. So
Hmm.
self-awareness is definitely, huge. Do you have any habits or routines that you say contribute to your financial success? And if so, how have you developed them over time?
I would say my major habits, um, it's kind of also personality trait. For years, I've really been big on staying organized. Part of that, like I said, is personality, but going through undergrad, getting to this point, it really took a lot of time to grow in that. Um, you know, Having organizational habits that actually make sense,
Yeah.
figuring out what works for me. I'm big on to-do lists and calendars. I used to be really big on planners. And then also, I think for me, um, having a why that's big enough just kind of keeps me on track. So I don't really have a habit in the sense of I need a habit to stay focused. The the reality of getting to my goal or not getting to my goal is enough to keep me focused. With the exception, like I said, of those moments when I need to rest. I don't really need to be reminded to get up and go and do things because I'm looking at, 5 years from now. If I don't get to where I want to be, it's on me.
Yeah, yeah. And that self motivation is huge. Like I tell my clients all the time, someone can't want something for you that you don't want for yourself. We have to be, honest with ourselves at some point and just know if we
Hmm.
something we can do it and just, come up with a plan. So that's awesome. Definitely respect that. So Tia, what do you think the value of a college education will be in the near future?
I think that college currently, I'm gonna answer your question, but as a caveat, I do still believe that college is very valuable. And in the future, I believe that it's going to continue to be valuable. I just think that we're going to be forced into a higher level of intentionality with college. I think there are some degrees that need, some professions that need college. I don't want a doctor working on me that hasn't been trained.
All right.
But but I think that, let me think. Unless you're going to be like a teacher, I don't know that it is valuable for most people to have like a literature or fiction degree, for example. Nothing wrong with those things. I'm just using that as an example. I think that everyone has and will continue to just be intentional. Like, what is my goal with this? Um, if you're going to be a teacher or if you have a particular goal, you want to start a business or you want to start a publishing company, it makes sense for you, that individual, to go into something like literature. But the um, the habit that I think a lot of schools have had of just letting young people do whatever without guidance, I think that they're going to be, kind of forced to do better in that area. I think a little more guidance, like I said, a little more intentionality, things that don't require high level training, like our STEM, that obviously is I think, gonna become more valuable. But things that are not necessarily, as far as jobs go, is needing a degree to get into those jobs. I think those things will probably decrease a lot. I still believe, like I said, that college is valuable and will continue to be valuable. I just don't think that it's going to be as broad as it has been the last couple of years.
Got you. Got you. Very interesting perspective, and I definitely respect it. I just love to ask that question because you can go down a rabbit hole of debates and opinions on that, but definitely an interesting perspective on that. Thank you for the answer.
Mhm. And if I can add something too with that, I think my previous answer was more so geared to administration of the school itself. I think that a part of that is also going to be like we were talking about personal responsibility. Um, I don't think that societally we've kind of encouraged young people to be intentional about going to college, and that's why we're in the situation that we're in now. So I think that there is a personal responsibility element to it, in planning ahead. It's even with like loans, taking the time to understand your loan before it's time to graduate. There is a personal responsibility element to it, but across the board, whether it's school administration, parents, students, even Department of Education and loan program, I think that it's just going to be more focused. It's going to need to be,
And
or we're going to be in the same situation 10 years from now.
exactly, it would need to be. I definitely agree with you. I definitely agree. See, I have a couple, more interesting questions for you here.
Okay.
So what is something that you would do if you knew that you could not fail?
I would do a lot of things. I would do everything I have time to do. But to answer the question, um, if I could do anything and not fail, my thought pattern when you ask this question goes more so to, if I could not fail and if time and money were not an issue, I would start a not-for-profit. And I would just commit all my time to some kind of not-for-profit, whether it be, dealing with food insecurity or housing insecurity, or being more intentional with the way that we handle our elders. I would just commit my time to doing as much service as I could for as many people as I could. Like I said, like you said, if I could do anything and I couldn't fail, but then also, if there weren't responsibilities, like having to, keep my own life going or whatever, if I could commit 100% of my time to that, I would.
Okay, and that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. So my last question I have for you here, Tia, and I'll let you go. I know you're pretty busy, but what would you say is your biggest accomplishment today?
Biggest accomplishment to date. I can't really say one thing. I think that generally getting to this point in my life has been a major accomplishment. Um, getting started well, that's one of the biggest things, like I said, with the personal finance venture that I have going on, helping our young people start well. I think that is like my biggest accomplishment to date. Getting through college, when I started, I didn't have a sibling that had gone through before me. My mother had gone through an associate's program. My father had started, didn't finish. An older sibling had done like a certificate program. I didn't have anyone to go behind. With this particular industry, I don't have anyone in my family that's in finance. Trying to start a business, I don't have anyone that started a business in this area. So being able to get to the point where I am, not having an example, I would say is my biggest accomplishment today.
And I just want to add one more thing to that. Getting to where you are today, being a pioneer, and also at your age, at your young age, the things you're doing are amazing. So I definitely commend you for those. And I apologize, Tia. I know I said that was my last question. I just have one more question. It should be a simple.
That's fine.
What's next for you?
What's next for me? Growing all the things that I've started. I know that, general conventional wisdom would say, focus on one thing. I have not done that, to be honest. I like variety. I like having my hands in a couple different pots at once. So growing and maturing the things that I've already started would be, I think, what's next for me in the immediate term.
Or in the immediate term, awesome. Hey guys, where you heard it here, this is Tia Moore, and just, another example of prime wealth. Thank you, Tia, for joining us today. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
For the love, but it's money. For the love, but it's money.